death is an illusion. And by death, I simply mean your true self becoming permanently unconscious. This is a fact that I know to be true because I've been able to recognize it through pure experience alone by engaging in spiritual practice. But before I give you the tools to realize this for yourself, I want to explain to you how the idea of death is actually the root cause for almost all of the world's mental suffering. Belief in death is the root cause of chronic cortisol release, but we don't even realize it. Almost every action we take revolves around the idea that experience is limited. Because we think that experience is limited, we prefer certain experiences over other experiences. We're always trying to grab the best slice out of life that we can. We want to have as many pleasuring experiences as possible, and then just skip the not so pleasuring ones. We suffer when we experience negative experience because we believe that there's this opportunity cost. We think that we'd be happier than we are right now if we were experiencing pleasure. There's a sense of rush in life to cram in all the good experiences that we can into 80 years. And that's our idea of a good life. Ironically, that feeling of rush causes stress and it releases cortisol. That actually shortens and decreases the quality of life. It makes us less happy and less healthy. Once you realize that experience does not end after the death of the self, there's no rush. And you can actually enjoy and appreciate negative experiences. Now, come on, Connor, how is that possible? How can you enjoy negative experiences? Well, I want you to think about your favorite movie. That movie undoubtedly has conflict. It makes you experience anxiety or sadness, but it's different. You don't get attached to that emotion. You don't suffer during a movie. You enjoy it because it's simply part of the movie. And after the movie, life goes on. That's all life is. That's all the universe is. An incredibly complicated 4D movie. Now in this movie, at this part of the movie, is the illusion of death. Now you can think of this as positively, that it was put here for a reason. Now thoughts of the ego, including the fear of death, makes life on Earth this type of mental hell. We just consider it normal right now. But it's very possible to break free of this ego. When you're free from the ego, you experience mental freedom, a heaven of the mind. You then realize that the prison of the mind that you were in was worth it. It was just part of the human evolution of consciousness. It served a purpose. It was that uncomfortable part of the movie. And it makes the good part of the movie even better. In life, it adds this feeling of gratitude, which is a wonderful feeling. So think about it. During a movie, you never fast forward to get to the good part. The not so good parts or uncomfortable parts of the movie are necessary parts that make the good parts great. Now, once you truly realize that experience is unlimited, there's no more rush. There's no more selfishness. No one tries to grab their biggest slice of life at the expense of others. We all work together as this giant family and just enjoy this 4D movie of the universe. It becomes a true golden age. It used to be like this before the ego took over. We can live in a time where we appreciate the bad as much as the good. And there would be negative emotions, but no suffering. So how do we recognize that death is an illusion? Well, through philosophical thinking along with spiritual practice. Let me give you some philosophical thoughts to start out. Then I'll talk about spiritual practice. Philosophical thought experiments are simply designed to make you realize that breaking the illusion of death is possible within this lifetime. But there's no way to be completely free until you experience it for yourself through spiritual practice. So I'm telling you these philosophical thoughts simply to encourage spiritual practice, not to somehow break you free from the illusion of death during this video. First, let's simply look at all the people in the world or in the past who have claimed to be free from this illusion of death. Most of these spiritual teachers are people who have experienced something so powerful, they just have to teach it. Now these people all claim to experience the exact same thing, and there's no faith or belief involved. There's just actual experience and knowing. You'll find that faith or belief only gets you 95% of the way there. To get to 100%, there's no other option except to experience it for yourself. And some people have claimed to experience this in this lifetime, here on Earth. Some examples are Jesus, Buddha, Eckhart Tolle, even Jim Carrey. Now there are countless others, and all these people have claimed to experience the same thing. Their stories match up perfectly. It's just how they explain it. That they were somehow able to experience something so powerful through spiritual practice that they knew, not believed, not had faith, but knew and experienced that death was an illusion. Now, if all these humans around the world are claiming this, even though it sounds difficult, don't you think it might be possible? Next, it helps to point out our scientific ignorance on the subject. Science is really lacking in this area. We still don't know exactly how this hormone called DMT works. This is the hormone that's released when we're born and when we die. Science also has no idea what consciousness is. They haven't been able to relate it to science. They haven't been able to tie it to matter. So why would you think when the body dies from a scientific standpoint that you somehow become unconscious? So most people's idea of death comes from sleep. They think that just because they become unconscious when they sleep, that death must be this eternal sleep. The thing is that we don't become unconscious when we sleep. Science can show you that there's always brain activity. We simply forget what we experienced during sleep. Have you ever knew that you just had a dream, but you just can't remember it anymore? Just because you don't remember it does not mean that you are unconscious. You can apply the same thought pattern to before you were born. You could have been conscious before yourself was born, you just don't remember it. Or you just simply didn't form memories. Just like we don't form memories until we're several years old. It does not mean that you haven't always been conscious. Also, let's just say we did go unconscious when we fell asleep, which is not true, by the way. Well, we always wake up. It's just a matter of time. And you'll find that time is an illusion as well, but in this thought experiment, it's important. Time seems very different during sleep. Have you ever fallen asleep and then woke up and feel like no time has passed at all? But you look at the clock and like 8 hours has passed, it's like the next day? Sleep can feel kind of like time travel. Well, now imagine death. 1,000,000 years could pass to the technological point where we could revive your consciousness through the DNA in your bones. But you would feel like no time has passed at all, because apparently you're unconscious and you can't experience time during unconsciousness. Now again, this is just a thought experiment, by the way. The truth is you don't go unconscious. Not even for a second. Unconsciousness simply doesn't exist. Saying that there's unconsciousness in the universe is like saying that you could find a dry part of water itself. The bottom line is, the universe is so incredibly magical and unexplained by science. In my opinion, there's nothing more arrogant and egotistical than scientists who think that they know exactly what happens when the self dies without having experienced it themselves. All any human truly knows is experience. All other knowledge is external, and it just can't be 100%. Yet so many humans still believe that there's an end to experience when experience is all they know. So let me try and explain how spiritual practice helps. There's a reason why monks will devote over 50 years to spiritual practice and meditation. It's because there's something extremely profound to be gained. If there wasn't, this type of practice would not have stood the test of time. So what exactly does meditation do? Meditation allows us to learn about consciousness and awareness more than science will ever be able to teach us. Just like our eyes will be able to see reality clearer than if those same eyes were watching that same reality through a YouTube video. Experience is the only thing we ever truly have and is the only thing you can ever truly trust. So in deep meditation, there's something that you can experience called an ego death. It allows you to realize the part of you that's surface level and earthly, the part of you that's temporary. And then it also allows you to realize the pure experience in you, the part of you that is forever, the part of you that is the universe. You'll find that ego death and death are actually the exact same thing. You'll find that our attachment to the physical body is actually part of the ego. The only difference is that after ego death, you snap back to the self that you were experiencing before. Now, experiencing ego death through meditation alone can take years, if not decades. Buddhist monks think that it takes lifetimes. But there are some shortcuts which I might talk about in later videos. But the thing is, experiencing ego death isn't that important right now. All that really matters is just realizing it's possible and being truly open-minded. And the rest will take care of itself. I want to end this video by reading a philosophical quote that I came up with the first night in the psych ward. I came up with this quote after arguing with the psychologists and doctors over the meaning of life for hours. I actually made it on the back of the first psych ward papers that I got. It expands upon probably the most famous quote about consciousness. I think, therefore I am. I think, therefore I am. I don't think, therefore I am not. But I never not think. Therefore, I always ever am. So I'll see you guys here tomorrow. And I'll explain the gaps between science and religion that you've been looking for this entire time. Science and religion don't have to disagree. So we'll see you here tomorrow. Peace.